Hello and welcome to today's session about SAP Datasphere and how you can get there from an SAP BW perspective. My name is Klaus-Peter Sauer and I'm joined with my colleague Dominik Kurz. We're both on the product management team for SAP Datasphere. Dominik is the grandmaster of all the BW for HANA, BW Bridge stuff, and I'm covering a lot of the outbound topics here on our team. And we will talk about the plan and execute your SAP BW transition to SAP Datasphere today. So let's start with the strategy update. So where are we going? And our strategy is quite clear. Our public cloud target is really SAP Datasphere. The business data fabric there is well suited also for all the BW workloads you might have today. And this is our strategic public cloud solution. If you want to stay on premise or if you want to follow RISE, sure, you can still go for BW for HANA. It's a great solution. We will maintain it for up until 2040. Dominik is also talking later about it a little bit. But as I want to state quite clearly, our target is SAP Datasphere. There are also a lot of partners on your way which can help you transition to the cloud. We have a tool-supported move which we provide. So there's a shell and a remote conversion option which help you transition your BW artifacts to the cloud. And of course, we can also offer here a free trial service up to 90 days where you can test this already. So maybe let's go a little deeper into that transition topic, right? So a lot of questions we get is around how can I safeguard my investment, which I already made over the past tens of years, maybe in a BW environment. And when we look at those systems, usually older systems, 7.x releases, we see two things happening. I mean, there's on the one hand side, there's operational reporting, which is more closely related to your ERP system, to your ECC instance, right? Which usually nowadays moves towards S/4HANA, as pictured here on the left-hand side on the slide, right? So where you can carve that out of your BW and do embedded analytics directly in your S/4HANA cloud system. For your remaining topics, which are usually more tactical or strategical topics in your BW system, you see different options on the middle and the right-hand side, right? So you could either go directly to Datasphere, right? Start with a greenfield, or use the BW Bridge as a transition mechanism to get into Datasphere. You could also use BW for HANA, as mentioned a little more to the left on the middle here. So with the BW for HANA Cloud Standard Edition, that's another possible way, right? If you follow our RISE offering here, this is a valid option which you could choose, getting your BW to the next stage and then also having an easier path for the future to get to Datasphere. Or, and that's what most of our customers nowadays do, use a mixed approach. That's what you see in the middle here. So customers using both, they complement their BW for HANA with a Datasphere and use the BW Bridge to already start gradually moving over stuff to the public cloud solution. And that is basically our direction. That's what we recommend to customers here, to reuse the investments with the BW Bridge, but also get new capabilities and get into a modernization here with your current environment. So why are we talking so much about modernization? And that brings us a little bit to what is your data which you're actually having in your system. So usually the most used reporting data, that's this year's data, last year's data. Everything which is a little bit older usually is often required for lookups during your ETL processes, but you don't regularly report on it. And then you have, in many systems, also older data. In our example here, 2017 or older, that's usually not often used. That's kept for, sometimes you need it for regulatory requirements, But usually for day-to-day reporting, this is not used. So this can be kept in different storages. And since we have the expert here sitting next to me, right, I want to directly hand over to Dominik, get us the details here on the topic, getting my BW to the next stage.
All right, so thanks for handover, KP, and thanks for the great introduction. And after this short input on understand your data model, let us jump one step deeper and quickly having a look into how was it done in the BW world, or what was your data strategy based on BW. So at the end of the day, all data was stored centrally on-premise without having a clear data categorization concept. So that was, of course, possible because resources that were required at the end of the day were not that relevant. And some customers, for example, already took the first step towards a data strategy, for example, by leveraging SAP IQ as a cold storage option under their BW or BW for HANA world. But a public cloud strategy definitely needs a data categorization because cloud resources are always dependent on the hyperscaler offering. And of course, also the data footprint becomes an important factor to consider. So let us move a bit further and let's jump directly into the explore your options and talking quickly about what kind of different options are available. And first of all, KP, I think you've already mentioned it. When we're talking about, let's say, a conversion, we are not talking about a conversion like it was in the past in the regular BW world. So if you move, for example, from BW 7.x towards BW for HANA, it's more, let's say, a general modernization approach. Yeah, that's always important to consider. And to be honest, we also have a lot of customers who really decide we'd like to start completely on a green field, or let's say all the BW investments are not worth bringing them into the new architecture, and they are really going into the direction of a greenfield approach together with Datasphere and really starting from the scratch and completely focus on modernization and also, of course, a simplified data landscape. So in comparison to that, of course, other customers, for example, also to decide to starting in a greenfield mode together with Datasphere and BW Bridge. So that means really building up a common data layer inside of BW Bridge for all legacy relevant data. That means especially for ECC or S/4HANA. And then really using this whole BW technology with all unique functions such as monitoring, transforming data, error handling, and so on. In comparison to the third option mentioned here, so this is the classic hybrid approach, for example, other customers decide to, let's say, reuse or, let's say, combine the regular BW stuff with Datasphere Core. And therefore, we really have a nice option together with BW for HANA. So you can reuse your data models easily from BW for HANA inside of Datasphere Core. And therefore, we have built specially one entity import option inside of Datasphere where you really can, let's say, reuse data models, not only composite providers, for example, also the whole query can be used and automatically transferred towards SAP Datasphere. So that means at the end of the day, we're transferring your composite provider as a remote table towards Datasphere Core, and on top we're building the analytic model with all that kind of associations and stuff like that.
In such a hybrid approach, would that mean that I have to maintain the models on both sides, or do I have some kind of synchronization magic happening?
Yeah, that's exactly a good question. Of course, you can also enrich the data model inside of the regular BW world and doing the transfer again in Datasphere, but you can also start using your, let's say, finished data model inside of Datasphere and then starting completely building new use cases on top in Datasphere.
Cool.
Right. Yeah, so if you would like to secure investments in skills, there is no way around of SAP BW Bridge in Datasphere. And of course, BW Bridge is also offered as a tool supported move, so you can really reuse your data models there, and simple let's say, shift your data models via shell or remote conversion from your 7.x environment towards BW Bridge. So let's say, migrate all the existing data models to BW Bridge, and then running also in BW Bridge and Datasphere Core the so-called entity import. And the entity import for BW Bridge is nearly the same than for BW for HANA. If we quickly compare it, for example, inside of BW Bridge, we're also resolving our composite provider. So that means we're generating at the end of the day a remote table based on the part provider of the info provider, and on top we're creating an analytical data model where we join all those part providers again together, and then also creating the new analytic model automatically on top, which reflects as your reporting artifact. So really use the remaining time until 2027 and the end of maintenance of BW, and migrate in your own pace towards BW Bridge and Datasphere. And especially our last option shown here on the right hand side, so using SAP Datasphere with BW Bridge and BW for HANA, is an option for all those customers who really need all this kind of regular BW functionality with hybrid models, add-ons, for example. So especially with BW for HANA, we now have the option, for example, to synchronize easily BW Bridge together with BW for HANA. That means inside of a remote or shell conversion, you just have the option to transfer the data model one time, and then you can't override it inside of BW Bridge. And with this nice synchronization option, we then have really the option to synchronize both data models.
And you only have to maintain it once, right?
Right.
That's cool. Yeah.
Right, that's exactly the point. And really you can move in your own pace until the end of maintenance also from BW for HANA in 2040, and then move slowly to SAP Datasphere Core. All right, so in summary, it can be said that customers who have already started a migration or a conversion towards SAP BW for HANA have already done the first important step towards our public cloud core offering, and hybrid models can be already used. And of course, over the next few months and quarters, we will also enhance, let's say, the hybrid approach together with BW for HANA. So a lot of BW artifacts are currently already working, and I will also give you a short introduction into the best of BW features and the supported features in a few minutes. So beside of that, with SAP BW Bridge in Datasphere, you transfer all your legacy relevant data flows from your source environment towards our public cloud core offering, and benefit really from, let's say, the optimal integration between regular BW functionality with ABAP based on ABAP Steampunk and SAP Datasphere Core. And if we jump a little bit more into the detail, let us also quickly talk about a big bang approach or gradual transition. And by a big bang approach, for example, we understand really the direct takeover of data models from your BW 7.x environment towards BW Bridge. And important to know is really that it is not a migration as it was in the past. It is really, let's say, a modernization. So you can move in your own pace. So that means inside of a regular shell conversion, you can define scopes. And a scope, for example, can be also only one composite provider with the respective data model. And that means moving this scope completely to BW Bridge, and afterwards decommit the old data flow inside of the BW 7.x environment. And as I've already mentioned here on the slide, you can also see it again via our BW Bridge model import. You have then the option to import your composite provider with the query on top, and we're generating automatically inside of your BW Bridge space all the remote tables, and inside of your target space, for example, can be a financial or HR space, for example, we're generating the analytical data set which reflects your composite provider, and then of course we're generating also the analytic model with all the KPIs and associations, right? And if we quickly also jump one step further, let us also talk quickly about the gradual transition. So what does that mean? So as already mentioned, BW for HANA has a support commitment until 2040. And 3 or 4 days before, I think we've also released BW for 2023.
That's the end of October, right?
Right. So 3 days ago, where some nice features really were coming into the product. And we're currently also planning to release a new product version every 3 years. And beside of that, of course, shipping support packages and 1 feature pack. Right, so that's the plan.
So 1 feature pack per year and new release every 3 years.
Yes, right. So that's the plan on the BW4 stuff. Yeah. And especially the customers who have already migrated to BW4 HANA or are currently planning to do so, they are definitely on, let's say, the right traction, so moving slowly to SAP Datasphere Core. And as I've mentioned, a nice feature which I would quickly like to highlight is really this kind of synchronization option where we can, let's say, keep all the metadata synchrone between BW4 and BW Bridge and move in your own pace towards.
And that's the great benefit if people are already on BW for HANA, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's exactly the nice benefit.
And from there you could also gradually move stuff, so different scopes over.
Right. So you can really define it really small granular.
Okay,
yeah?
Cool.
Right. So in case of the time, we have to speed up a bit, and let's quickly also talk about the complexity drivers. Yeah. So it is quite important to understand what are the complexity drivers inside of your BW environment at the end. And at the end of the day, these, let's say, 6 features which are mentioned here are really effort drivers during a modernization approach. So 1 effort driver is, of course, the regular SAP BW query. So that means every customer is using queries, and all our customers are also using non-ODP sources, open-ups, APDs, add-ons, or mixed modeling scenarios. And important to understand is really that we're replacing this kind of query with a new analytic model and our model entity import, where we really have the option also to cover, let's say, features like multi-structure support and stuff like that. I will quickly talk about that later on. Then, of course, we also have non-ODP data sources. So in SAP Datasphere, we really have the same connection options and data source types than in the BW world, but non-ODP sources have to be shifted directly to SAP Datasphere Core. Yeah. Also, for example, add-ons are in general, let's say, not supported inside of Datasphere Core and not in BW Bridge. And the strategic, let's say, successor of BCS, for example, is S/4HANA Group Reporting. And the successor of BPC is Analytics Cloud Planning. And especially for BW4 HANA, for example, we have, let's say, the option to run BCS for HANA. And there we also have, let's say, this maintenance strategy alignment until 2040. And another effort driver, for example, is mixed modeling. Yeah. So unfortunately, the HANA on-premise world is running on XS Classic, while HANA Cloud is based on XS Advanced. And due to this challenge, unfortunately, a migration can be currently not offered.
Maybe one question which I miss here on this slide, what about large systems? Because also looking at the question, a lot of our customers have large and complex systems, right? How would we handle those?
Yeah, that's exactly a good question. So, for example, what can be covered via BW Bridge, let's say, core? Currently, we're supporting 7.4 terabyte, but I also would like to highlight quickly a feature which we're going to be released mid of December. So this is the plan where we really enable, let's say, a cold storage option in BW Bridge. So that means we then have the option to move, let's say, cold data or legacy data out into the embedded HANA Cloud Data Lake relational. And of course, then we can cover much larger systems.
So similar to DTO, so dynamic tiering optimization on the on-prem system.
Right.
In December this year, right?
Right,
cool.
Right. Will be released soon.
Good.
All right. So let us quickly jump forward and having a detailed look into the entity import or model conversion. So for example, what is currently supported inside of the conversion is calculated restricted key figures and stuff like that, global filters, time dimensions, navigational attributes, and so on. Features which are planned, for example. Interesting is the handling and reuse of existing hierarchies. So external hierarchies were already shipped in SAP Datasphere Core, and especially also for our BW4 and BW customers, we'd like to offer an option easily to transfer all this kind of, let's say, BW hierarchies to Datasphere Core, so you can really reuse them. Another highly anticipated feature, which I also see here in the panel and in the question, is non-cumulative key figures. So this is also planned for Q2 next year and on the roadmap. Constant selection is also coming. And of course, all our customers are also using multi-structure or two-structured queries. Yeah. And currently, we're also working on an option really to bring this kind of two-structured queries towards SAP Datasphere Core. So the first version is already available via SAP Analytics Cloud Analytics Cloud, so-called cross-calculations.
So that's possible today without any additional...
Right. So this is possible today, and now we're adopting cross-calculations towards the analytic model. Of course, so we won't re-implement all this kind of BW features, and we also have a short blacklist here, unsupported features. So a feature which won't be re-implemented currently, for example, is a temporal join or an ambiguous join, or also, for example, the well-known RSBBS, so jump from one query to the other one. So this can be handled in different kind of technologies and also in SAC. All right. So KP, what kind of questions do we have?
Yeah, let's have a look here at the questions. So one is there, BW is very limited in terms of, or BW Bridge, sorry, is very limited in terms of modeling. Are there any future development plans specifically for modeling in the BW Bridge side?
Yeah, so in general, I think BW Bridge is really not limited in the whole modeling stuff. So we really have nearly the same modeling experience than in BW4 HANA. It is the same code line than BW4 HANA.
It's the same tool, right?
Right. It's completely, let's say, the same look and feel. We don't have some objects like open hubs, of course, but you can really use all this kind of transformation options via ABAP. You have your advanced data store objects, composite provider. Of course, you don't have a query, but this is handled via Datasphere Core.
Okay, there's another interesting one here from BW. We can go to BW for HANA and SAC or Datasphere. And I would also add and SAC because the combination makes the value, right?
Yeah.
So if you only have the backend, you need some kind of front end to visualize everything. Which is the good option, is the question. Can you recommend something?
Yeah, good question. So for the future, I think for anyone or for every customer who can switch directly to our public cloud core offering, BW Bridge and Datasphere Core is definitely our strategic target solution, and every customer should definitely follow into this direction. Of course, there are some challenges in between, but let's say challenges are also inside of a conversion towards BW4 HANA, so does not really matter, I think.
Okay. There's another interesting one here, which we already kind of touched, but maybe let's reiterate that topic. Can we have historical data in Datasphere similar to BW? That's basically that new cold option you mentioned, right? Which is coming out in December, the data tiering optimization.
Right.
That's exactly what it's targeted for. And even without that, you could today in Datasphere have a data lake attached and use that as a cold store. Right, but the DTO is more comfortable, definitely for sure. Yeah. Like people know it from the BW world.
Right.
Yeah, that also covers the archiving question, which is here, right? So that's similar direction going. And let's pick one final question here. What is the minimum BW4 HANA and SAP BW service pack version that have this BW Bridge synchronization feature, the new sync feature?
Right, so therefore you need BW for 2023, which was just released 3 days before.
So the latest and greatest.
Right,
release.
right.
Okay. Cool. So I think we covered most questions. We're running a little bit out of time here. So Dominik, thank you for being here with me today in this session. I hope you had a great time on the other side of the screen here. And yeah, thanks from our side and have a good one.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye.